Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Black Line Brief. I'm your host, Matthew McKim. Hope you guys had a good day. A lot going on today on the news. We're gonna go over it. We're gonna get into it. The Tyler Robinson court appearance. I've condensed it into the parts that are important, and I'll be giving you guys my opinion and breaking down like the major conclusions of what happened today because it was super long and I watched it. But we don't need to watch the whole thing. And then a little bit of housekeeping. I put a Q&A in the chat for you guys, suggestions on what our community should be called. And then we can vote on it. We can take a poll on it after that. And then, and then if you are a regular member and you continue to come and you're a part of this community as it grows, I start to notice who's like pretty consistent in the chat. And you guys want to help out with this channel, email me and I can decide whether or not if you want to be a moderator and help moderate the chat just to make sure everyone's abiding by the channel's guidelines, being respectful, sticking to the topic, not spamming, and not being harsh to any of to one another. All right. And yeah, as you are here, welcome. Okay, hit the like, hit the subscribe. It really does help the algorithm. I'm sorry, I got to say it every time. Such a small percentage of everyone that views a video actually hit the like and subscribe. And make sure you go into the notifications and hit all. I'm not going to blow your guys' phone up. It'll only come when I go live or a new video posts. I don't do small, short videos. You won't get blown up if you put the notifications on all. I know a lot of the other content creators like Baron and Candace and Ian and many others have been saying that YouTube's been doing some funny things like unsubscribing people from channels that they're subscribed to. You're not, viewers and followers aren't getting notified when they're going live. So just make sure to check that often. It hasn't happened to me yet when I'm a follower and subscriber of Baron and Ian and Candace. But I also like when I know when they usually go on, I go on to their channel and then I see if they have something coming up if it doesn't show up. And eventually, you guys, I will be able to go live on the same days, same times consistently, doing a lot at the same time right now. So it's when I can fit it in, and I apologize for that. But you guys can always come back and watch it. You don't have to be there live. Everyone's at different time zones. People are here from Canada, Hawaii, Australia. Welcome from all over the world, which is so cool. All right, let's start here. All right, so this guy's the lead prosecutor that's about to be sworn in. He's the one that Tyler Robinson's defense wants to get recused, wants them to be taken off the case because this guy's daughter was at the assassination of Charlie Kirk, okay? However, if you read the previous documents or seen anyone cover the previous documents from the previous filings, she didn't see anything. She heard what they claim was a gunshot. And I find it interesting that the prosecution, the lead prosecutor and others on the prosecution's team today and every other time here, I'll come back here real quick. In previous hearings and court documents, they've taken it upon themselves at every time to assert statements as their facts, right? And I watched Baron Coleman's breakdown of a previous court hearing and documents that were filed. And he's a lawyer. He was a lawyer. He's not anymore. He's a full-time content creator. But he said in the beginning, the defense should be contesting all the facts that the prosecution lays out. There should be no uncontested facts. So when the prosecution makes a claim that like she heard a gunshot, they saw the bullet, anything that is trying to substantiate the FedSlop narrative, the prosecution's version of that day of events, the defense should say, objection, I contest that. We don't agree that that's a fact. I don't think there's any proof that there was a bullet or there was a shot or anything like that. They didn't. However, we will get to Catherine Nestor, which we've been waiting to hear from her. She did really good. Novak, the lead on the defense, or one of the leads, the male that we've heard talk in previous court hearings appearances, man, he's dry. Nestor, you'll see her. I'm going to play her version, her her part because she does so good and I like her. And people have started to make accusations that she's related to Terrell Farnsworth. I couldn't find any familiar relation, any background that I've done so far. There's no actual tie. And she's not based in Utah. She's in Utah now. She's actually from Texas and she practiced in San Diego, California. She's almost just recently in Utah area. All right. But I was pretty skeptical of her until today. She's a pit bull. All right. But so this guy is the guy. He's the lead prosecuting attorney on the team for the state. And he's the one that his daughter was at the event. And because of that, I mean, imagine, I was thinking about this today, like what would it really be like to get a phone call or a text from my children saying that they're at an event and there's been a live shooting, or in this case, just some sort of assassination. She says shooting, he says shooting. I don't think it was a shooting, but at that time, that's what they were saying. That's what she said to him. And then, of course, he asks back, did you hear what you believe was a gunshot? It's just so interesting how they tried to substantiate it from the beginning, that it was a lone gunman on the Losi Center with a rifle, and it was a bullet that killed Charlie. And you'll hear that throughout the day. But yeah, so that's why they want to get him and his team off. He's the one that led the whole prosecution from the beginning, and that him and the guy after him, and I don't know his name, my apologies, there's so many names today. The guy, he's an elected attorney for the state of Idaho, for the state of Utah, that he's the one that makes the determination whether or not to seek the death penalty. And they sought the death penalty right away, and he defends that in court today. But yeah, okay, so let's get into this a little bit. Let's just see. Let me get to the one. All right, here we go.
Mr. Byrd.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Could you tell us your name, please?
Chad Grunander.
And could you tell us what your business or occupation is?
I'm a prosecutor at the Utah County Attorney's Office.
How long have you been a prosecutor at the Utah County?
Almost 22 years.
Sir, in front of you, there's a number of exhibits, and they're marked, I believe, D through.
All right. And I just wanted to play that so that we could get his name. This is really long. And the gist is this. Oh, okay. And here's the other setup. The other reason why they were in court today was for the defense to continue to argue for the prosecution to be removed. Okay. The judge has not yet ruled on that. Even by the end of the hearing today, the judge did not rule on that. He said, I haven't ruled on it yet. So both of you continue as is until I make a decision. Both sides got up and argued their point, and they belabored it. And it was excruciatingly long and boring. No decision was made. We'll get back to you on that. But so we got his name. He's the one that his daughter was at the event. Okay. So let's go to the next clip. And I'm not going to show you the Novak part. So this, let me show you. This is Novak. Oh, that's me. All right. Here, this guy on the right walking towards the camera is one of the defense attorneys for Tyler Robinson. He's really dry, really boring. And then this is the elected attorney that they questioned first. He's like the first witness regarding why they chose to seek the death penalty. And it's in relation to whether or not the state's attorney should be recused and be taken off the case. And there was a lot of things that were not done properly. He didn't ask that attorney. He didn't, before seeking the death penalty, ask him to recuse himself from that process of whether or not the death penalty should be sought, or if there was a conflict of interest, or even as the statute's written, even if there's an appearance of a conflict of interest from the public, not just their own perception, but do we think that there could potentially be a conflict of interest? And I would say, yeah, I think there is. If your children are at an event and you get a text that something like that had happened, I think it would be extremely traumatizing. And then to find supposedly the person who did that and potentially put your child at harm and maybe even at risk of death, how could you not How could you stay impartial on that? I just don't think you could. All right. Let me see here. Not that one. There it is. Let's see if he opens up right here where he introduces himself.
Do, if I may, is approach Mr. Gray.
Mr. Gray.
With, document.
For anyone, is it?
Mark for identification as exhibit.
Yeah, go ahead and close their chat with the
I,
X.
and that's-
Oh,
Yep.
okay. And this is Trigger Smart and Blake Bednards. He's also got a channel on YouTube called West Texas is the Best Texas. And that's Kelly. I forget her last name, but go over to Trigger Smart. West Texas is the Best Texas, and give them a like and subscribe. They're great. I just wanted you to hear his name. But let's move on to the actual meat and potatoes of today. Let me make sure I have the right one. All right, here we go.
Submitted an affidavit from Agent Cole Christensen. I've just conferred with counsel. I think we're both on board that the court can consider that in reaching its conclusion on this matter today. Save us having to call him as a witness.
All right. What was the proposed exhibit number for that?
It's an attachment to the state's pleading. Addendum C.
And so how is it going to be marked? Just for record keeping for this hearing?
Um,
I'm going to skip
The
ahead.
scene is essentially an amphitheater set.
All right. So this guy, he is the lead, one of the lead investigators for the state of Utah. He's British. I mean, that was interesting to me that he's British. But anyway, okay. And then he gets up there and for the most part is answering questions that are pretty much in favor of the prosecution, except when talking about the moment in which Charlie was struck by something. The prosecution continued to say by a bullet, shot, using words and phrases and language that is going to substantiate their version of that day of events. But he doesn't say that. He says when the projectile hit him. Oh, let me see if I could actually find that one clip. He says projectile. He doesn't say bullet. And I don't know if you guys know this, but do you guys know what they call bullets in England? They call them bullets. So, I mean, if it was a bullet and if he said he thought it was a bullet, he would have said bullet. He didn't say bullet, but I don't know. That's just my opinion. Let's see. Oh, wait. Whoop. That's not the right one. I clicked on the wrong screen.
Set up. Mr. Kirk's stage was set up at the base of the amphitheater. And then there are, I guess, semicircular tiers that move.
All right, here's just explaining the actual scene. Let me get to the end. It's super long. So let me get to let me see if this is it.
I have exhibit number 3 up in front of you. Do you recognize that?
Yes, that's a university or a Utah Valley University video of the kind of the breezeway area that I previously described.
And exhibit number 3 is a screenshot from that video. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And will you describe what plaintiff's exhibit, well, the video itself actually shows?
Yes, if we were to play this video, this shows also the time that Mr. Kirk was impacted by the projectile.
Impacted by the projectile. He doesn't say shot with the bullet. The prosecution will continue to say shot with the bullet. He says impacted with the projectile. I just find that interesting because he could have said shot with the bullet. He doesn't. It's not like it's a language barrier of some sort. And I just find that interesting. I mean, all in the rest of his testimony today, he answers in ways that could be interpreted as favorable to the prosecution and not the defense. But don't you worry, because Catherine Nestor is going to obliterate him. And I'm going to play her her whole portion because it's freaking nice. All right, let's continue with this guy for a second.
And it shows the activity that occurs behind the stage area and the movement of people prior to, during, and then after the incident. On both sides of the breezeway where the barriers are, the crowd actually break through the barrier in an effort to escape the area.
Does this video show others that may have been exposed to risk if that bullet would have missed Mr. Kirk?
I believe so, yes.
When you responded on September 10th, did you know who Chad Grunander was?
I did not, no.
Did you know anything about his daughter?
I did not.
Did you eventually?
Chad Grunander is that lead prosecuting attorney for the state of Utah. He's the one that was with the bald head in the beginning. He's the one whose daughter was at the event.
Eventually learn that a prosecutor's daughter was on the scene?
I did.
When did you learn that?
I believe when I found out, it was when the motion had been filed for the conflict argument.
Okay, so prior to that, did the presence of that person, that individual, have any bearing at all in your investigation in the case?
No, I was not aware of her presence at the event.
And that's interesting because that's a key point that the prosecution is. So the prosecution right now is trying to prove that there's no conflict of interest. There's no appearance of a conflict at all. And they're trying to do that by stating that the attorney's daughter is not a material witness, is not a significant material witness to the crime as it occurred. However, what's interesting is that when Catherine Nestor gets up, she points out that number one is not what they're even arguing. It's not that she's a material witness and that's why, therefore, they should be recused. She points out that they clearly sheltered her and that the lead attorney and his team looked for anyone and everyone there that day that was present that A, saw or heard anything, B, had camera footage, and C, would be willing to give a testimony as to what they saw that day. And they didn't approach her until like 10 days ago or 2 weeks ago. The lead prosecuting attorney, it's his daughter. He knew she was there. He knew that there was camera footage that she had. He knew that, I mean, even though he claims and she claims that she didn't see anything, still that the lead prosecuting attorney's team literally reached out to anyone and put out flyers and bulletins for anyone that was there that day to come forward if they had video footage or any kind of witness statement or anything like that. And they completely leave her out of it until the defense brings up that it's an issue. And I don't think the defense is trying to stall this case by asking for the prosecution to be recused.
You have read that adult child's affidavit in preparation for this hearing, right?
Correct, yes.
And was there anything in that affidavit that changed your view?
And it's weird. I don't know why they continue to say adult child when the father got on the stage. He admits it's his daughter. And in the court filing documents previously, they admit it's his daughter. So I don't know why they say adult child.
You have the case or the investigation you should do.
There was not, no.
Was there anything new in the affidavit?
No.
You're here for her testimony today, correct?
Correct, I was.
Same questions. Anything new in that testimony?
No additional information.
Now, I want to ask you a little bit about the value of the witnesses as it relates to this case. Did the witnesses on scene identify the shooter?
No, we did not have a witness that identified the shooter on scene.
What was was that the primary goal of your investigation, to identify the shooter?
It was, yes.
And I want to ask you about the existence of other evidence. You said you collected surveillance evidence from Utah Valley University. Is that right?
That's correct.
Did that give you some additional information on identifying the shooter?
It did, yes.
How about doorbell cameras for the areas around Utah Valley University?
Yes, we collected a large number of doorbell camera footage from multiple residences in the area, not just in Orem, but also in St. George. And we also recovered video footage from multiple businesses in the area of the university campus in Orem, and also from businesses between Orem and St. George. So there's a large amount of video footage obtained.
And did those help you identify the shooter?
They did, yes.
Text messages, did you collect text messages from associates of Tyler Robinson?
We did, yes.
And did those,
Okay. And so all of the questions he's asking this lead investigator are everything that we already know. They're not talking about things that haven't already been released to the public. So it's all the footage that we've seen. That's all they're talking about. Some of the footage from UVU, the grainy footage, the still picture of the dude with the hat and the black shirt, that it's not Tyler Robinson. It's not time-stamped. The grainy footage that starts and captures the loci center of the individual on there running, not laying down, that footage. And then the messages that Tyler supposedly sent to Lance Twiggs, that's what he's talking about. And then he's talking about the Discord chats that we know about. He's not actually talking about anything else. And so it's interesting that he's phrasing it in such a way that it's like different, like more evidence that we don't know of, and it's not.
what was did those have any evidentiary value?
They did, yes.
How so?
Some of the communications between Mr. Robinson and people that he knew indicated that he had been involved in the incident at Utah Valley University.
Okay, and you say that indicated he'd been involved. What do you mean by that?
There was, I don't recall specifically with text messages, but some of the social media chats, there were admissions that he had been involved in the incident as the shooter.
Okay.
Which can be faked. They can be altered. To me, that's not any kind of evidence. You know, it could have been someone from his profile. They could have hacked his profile, used his profile, and made those statements or comments from him, but not really from him. All right, this continues. Not much more is covered by him. And plus, at the end, it gets pretty well surmised and wrapped up by Catherine. And I really want to share that because that's the meat and potatoes, the good stuff. All right.
Whew, I'll talk fast, Your Honor,
All right.
and I'll run up to the front. Good afternoon. My name is Kathy Nestor. I represent Mr. Robinson, Agent Hall. You certainly seem familiar with a lot of the evidence here. Is it fair to say you're one of the key case agents in this matter?
That's correct.
All right. And as one of the case agents in this matter, certainly it's up to you to look at every piece of evidence that could be important in this case. Is that right?
That's correct.
And as a matter of fact, if I understood your testimony correctly, you said that you guys put posters up asking students, if you have videos, please give them to us. Is that right?
I believe that the posters were asking if anybody wanted to provide a statement to us, that they would be encouraged to do so.
So you encouraged all the kids that were there and other people to come forward and give you a statement. Did you not?
I did not personally know.
Your posters did.
The posters did, correct.
Okay. And you also put out a request for videos, if anybody had videos to present them to you. Did you not?
We asked if anybody had any information that would help us with our investigation, if they'd be willing to provide it to us. That's correct.
And it doesn't sound like you screened it. You were so like, if you have it, bring it to us, right?
I'm not sure what the question is.
You didn't screen for, well, we'll take your evidence, but we're not interested in your evidence. You took any evidence that came at you, right?
I guess the answer would be yes, because I can't screen it until I have it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Is there anybody that came forward and you said, yeah, we're really not interested in talking to you at all? We're not even going to take your statement?
I believe there were people who were pre-screened who wanted to provide information that didn't have any substantiated connection to the investigation.
But somebody connected with this investigation, spoke to them and decided they didn't have any valuable information, correct?
Yeah, they documented their contact and then made that decision.
Okay. And the videos that you got, you understand that these videos have been used far and wide to look to see if there were potentially other shooters in the in the crowd? Have you seen this on social media? Thousands of them.
Again, I guess I don't know what the question is.
All right. Are you aware that the videos that have been taken from the scene have been analyzed by people on social media and in the press to see if there was somebody else that could have been involved in this? Are you aware of that?
I'm aware that.
She's got to be watching stuff online. And I'm glad we all were wondering if the defense is going to point out any of the alternative theories and possibilities that we've all figured out, come across, whether that be from Candace Owens, Baron Coleman, Ian Carroll, and everyone in this community trying to find out what really happened to Charlie Kirk. And you can tell, like, she's a pit bull. She's not letting up. She's not going light on this guy, and it gets even better. And she's pointing out here, she's pointing this part out because they did not try to get in touch with the lead prosecutor's daughter, who was a witness to the event and had video camera footage from that day until like 10 days ago. And that in itself is suspicious and shows that they were like favoring her because they wanted anyone. They put flyers up. They asked everyone to come forward, but they knew she was there. They knew she was a witness, and she had recording footage from that day. Whether it was good recording or showed anything or not, they should have still sought her out and tried to obtain that footage and to determine for themselves whether or not it was good footage.
Everybody has a theory on the case. Yes.
Everybody has a theory on it, right?
Mhm.
So wouldn't you think it would be fair to say that any video that was taken there that could one way or another address whether those theories are good or bad, or whether your theory is good or bad, you guys should at least take a look at them? Fair?
Yes.
All right. And you became aware that Mr. Grunander had a child that was present at the scene. Is that right?
That's correct.
And did you look at her videos?
I did, yes.
When did you look at her videos?
When I received them, when she was interviewed by Agent Mortensen.
So that would have been a couple weeks ago.
Correct.
All right. But when you were doing your investigation of this case initially, you never looked at her videos.
Ms. Grunander did not come forward as a witness, no.
And the Utah County Attorney's Office knew that she had been there, right?
I'm sorry?
The Utah County Attorney's Office knew she had been there that day?
At the event?
Yes.
Correct.
And they knew she had videos?
I don't know if they knew she had videos or not, but they knew she'd been at the event.
But they sure weren't forwarded to you, were they?
Not until last week, no.
Okay. When this came out and there was a motion filed in court.
Correct.
All right. And have you ever interviewed Mr. Grunander's adult child?
As I said, Agent Mortensen did that interview. I did not.
And that was done when?
Either a week or 10 days ago.
Right. And so up until about 10 days ago, you all did not look at her videos, right?
No,
You did not interview her.
no.
And the county attorneys knew that she had been there, right?
Correct.
And they knew she had videos.
Correct.
And were you told by anyone not to interview her?
No, I was
Were
not.
you told by anyone to leave her alone?
I was not.
But they sure as heck didn't seek her out, and they all knew because the lead prosecuting attorney, his daughter is the one that was there. So they all knew about it, and yet they chose not to interview her as a witness and obtain her video footage until the defense raised it as an issue, and then they had to. So who knows if they were ever going to do it at all.
You said the SBI collected over 40 statements. Is that right?
Correct.
And that's from people that were just in the audience?
The 40 that I mentioned is from people who were at the event, yes.
So people in the exact same situation that the prosecutor's daughter was in?
In terms of being at the event?
Yes.
Yes, people who were at the event.
And you thought they were worthy of taking statements from, right?
They came forward to give us statements, correct?
Because everybody's perspective is important.
If they're willing to share it, yes.
And as a matter of fact, you've gathered, as I understand it from today, I want to say around 300 terabytes of video information from the scene. Is that right?
I believe there's in the region of 248 terabytes of data from Utah Valley University alone.
And the adult child of Mr. Grunander is in the exact same position as everybody else who's given evidence in this case, isn't she?
In terms of being an attendee at the event?
right?
Yes, she was an attendee.
And
of the event.
having video
Yes,
and having witnessed things herself?
you would have to refer to her testimony as to what she witnessed.
Okay. And you mentioned I know I have 2 minutes. I'm going to talk very fast. I know she's about to kill me. You mentioned the DNA evidence. You're certainly not a DNA expert. Is that correct?
I'm not, no.
And are you aware that the DNA evidence that was seized from the scene consisted of a mixture of at least 5 different individuals?
That we didn't know, ladies and gentlemen. And that's new information that I found out today. So the DNA evidence that the prosecution and the investigating team recovered, whether that be from the towel, the screwdriver, and the gun, it was a mixture of 5 different individuals' DNA. But he got up there when the prosecution was asking questions about the DNA and would have us all believe that the DNA came back conclusive solely with Tyler Robinson's DNA. But it was a mixture of 5, which would make sense. If it was a towel that was inside their apartment, that multiple people's DNA would be on it, including Tyler Robinson's. That doesn't mean it only was used by Tyler Robinson and only there at that day for that event. And likewise with the rifle, I mean, it's his grandpappy's rifle. It's going to have his DNA on it. And who knows where that screwdriver came from? And a screwdriver can't break down that old World War I, 30-06 rifle by itself. You need so much more equipment to break that down fully than just a freaking screwdriver. And so, and we don't even know where that screwdriver came from, like possession, what house it came from or anything like that. So them trying to claim that this DNA is conclusive and it shows that Tyler Robinson is the lone gunman is false. And I'm so happy she digs into it.
Individuals?
I'm not a DNA expert, so
So you know enough to say what helps him, but you're not going to answer whether or not there were 5 individuals mixed into that DNA.
I'm not aware of that, no.
Okay. And you're certainly not qualified to interpret complex DNA mixtures, are you?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Court's indulgence for just one moment, Your Honor.
All right, she doesn't end up finishing. I mean, she ends up being done. Then they take a short recess, and then this is closing arguments. And I'll just play a little bit of his, and then pretty much summarized it already, but I'll let you hear a little bit of it, and then we'll move on.
Your Honor, there are legal issues and there are factual issues that we think that the court needs to look at very closely. I would ask the court, because I only have 10 minutes, to look at both the briefing in the original motion, and I will point out some specific cases that we think the court should pay attention to, as well as the briefing in the what I'm going to call the renewed request. And they're both informative. The briefing in the renewed request doesn't just go to the question of should this court encourage, that's the language of the statute, hints at the state attorney, the county attorney to refer this to the attorney general, but it also refers to when a trial court does or does not abuse its discretion with respect to recusal. The last witness, and I'm gonna just go with the principle of recency here. The last witness's primary purpose was to focus on this question of whether the adult child student at UVU is what the state has referred to as a material witness or a critical witness. And that is actually either intentionally or unintentionally a distraction from the real question here. This is not a question of whether, in order to prove its case, the state needs to call as a witness a family member of the prosecution. Okay. That could, in another situation, be a source of a conflict. But the issue here is that the most experienced and most senior prosecutor in the office, other than the elected county attorney, Mr. Gray, should have been walled off from this prosecution until this court had an opportunity to consider whether disqualification is necessary. And it is important to note a couple things that Mr. Garnander said. One of them was that he'd never seen, in his experience, a decision to seek the death penalty made without regard to.
All right. And then, I mean, he talks extremely slow. So here's his overall point. They rushed to seek the death penalty, whether that be, and the fact that Governor Cox had no authority to say that they were going to seek the death penalty. He's not even part of the process. And he came out and said, you know, they're going to do it. And then also Trump came out and said, I hope they seek the death penalty, which could have influenced the head elected litigator that is upon that, that makes that decision. And then him knowing, he's known the lead prosecutor. So the elected lawyer, the elected attorney that makes the decision whether or not to seek the death penalty in aggravated murder charges, has known the lead prosecutor for over 20 years, right? And knowing that his daughter was at the event, and their rush to seek the death penalty in this case was due to that experience that the lead prosecutor's daughter experienced that day, and that it was a personal thing. The judge doesn't end up ruling on it today. He doesn't make a decision. He says continue as normal, and then, you know, we'll touch base at our next hearing, which is not going to be in person. It's going to be virtual. And he also ruled on, for now, cameras are going to be allowed. However, no camera shots of Tyler Robinson and no still camera shots of Tyler Robinson for now. Hopefully that continues, and that's it. And that's and that we actually get to see inside of the courtroom when the court starts. Let me just double check to make sure. Yeah, there wasn't really anything good after that. The lead prosecuting attorney gets up and he gives his closing argument, which is, yeah, they don't think there's a conflict of interest and that they shouldn't be recused. Yeah. And they used this whole time today to put forth their version of the facts. And it's just a bummer. As proud as I was of Catherine Nestor being very aggressive, they didn't contest any of the facts that the prosecution tried to claim today. Like, Tyler Robinson clearly did it. We all know that he did it. Oh, yeah, that's right. That is what he says at the end. Let me see, because he tries to claim that's not what this case is about. Let's see.
This. And as a result, there's really no conflict here. Now, I understand that conflicts go beyond just that.
Oh, my bad.
Most of the cases that we look at where there's some kind of conflict are where there's confidential knowledge that has been obtained by the prosecutor, right? A defense attorney becomes a prosecutor and now has confidential knowledge about that person, right? That's the typical conflict we see. Has some kind of proprietary or financial interest, right? That's the kind of conflict we usually see. Occasionally there are personal conflicts, but there's a lot of good case law that talks about what kind of conflicts constitute that personal interest. And I think the best case law on this is cited in our opposition to the renewed motion to
Here, I want to respond to a couple of things in the chat. Did somebody actually suggest a name? I see someone said, cool name. Oh, you're asking your favorite darkness, what that means specifically, because that's a cool name. Gotcha. Weird, no images of Robinson. Do you think? No, it makes sense. What they don't want, because what happened already was certain news outlets were taking still camera shots of him making certain faces or not making faces, and then ascribing meaning to it, like to guilt, or to anxiety. And they also don't want any pictures of him in shackles. The defense doesn't want any video or still photography of Tyler that could taint the jury pool's perception of him, whether that are photos or video that makes him look guilty. And like showing up in an orange jumpsuit, being inside the jail when they do the virtual, because at the end she's like, when we appear virtually for the next court hearing, it's only audio. It's not going to be video for Tyler Robinson. And that makes sense. They want to limit how often the public, because the public are the potential jurors, see him in handcuffs, in jail, in his jumpsuit. They allow him to change into his attire for the court case for that reason. But when he does the next appearance, it's going to be virtual. They said audio only for that reason. They don't want any of us to see him in that way, which for some people, they just assume and attribute guilt when they see people in handcuffs in a jumpsuit and in jail. And yeah, they want to limit the video recording as well, because people were recording the defense team and Tyler talking together, slowing it down and having lip reading experts break down what they were saying. So there's a lot of good reasons why. I don't think it's nefarious. I think it's their attempt to have a fair and impartial jury.
Refer the matter. And in that case, State v. Newman, the court found, this is a Missouri case, the court found no conflict of interest in prosecuting a defendant for murder, even though the prosecutor had done business with the victim, knew him personally, and served as a pallbearer at the victim's funeral. In the Gwinnett County District Attorney, nor his Georgia office had a conflict of interest, even though his chief investigator dated and later married the victim in a case that the office was prosecuting.
Hold on. This is such a boring part.
The lawyer. In this case, the decision to prosecute and the prosecution of this case will not be limited in any way. Moreover, if anything, the interests would align. Regardless, the motivation here is clearly not because of the presence of this child. It's because Charlie Kirk was murdered in front of everybody. She's not a material witness. Everybody knows Charlie Kirk was shot and killed and murdered brutally. Everybody
See that? The defense right there should have said, objection, we don't agree. That's not a fact. We don't know that he was actually shot by anything. No bullet has been retrieved. The autopsy, I mean, they probably have it. We don't have it. But remember, it came out first that it was a 30-06. Then that changed when everyone started doing ballistic testing and was like, no, there's no way it could have been a 30-06. And they're like, it's a frangible round. Oh, but before that, they said the bullet fragmented before they said it was a frangible round, that it went in, hit the spine, it broke apart, and was lodged in the T1. So they've changed their theory and their narrative multiple times to continue fit the ever evolving investigation on our side, the decentralized intelligence agency. And then they continue to claim that it's clear and obvious that he was killed by a bullet. And so they took every opportunity today to continue to try to further that as the narrative and the facts of how he died. And I just wish that the defense would have objected more.
Knows that. I don't think that's going to be what this case is about. It's going to be about identity. And neither the child nor any of the other 3,000 witnesses present really have a whole lot to say about who this was that did the shooting. And that's what this case hinges on. There's been no evidence that Prosecutor A's child had any effect on the prosecution of this case.
All right. And then that's pretty much it. I wanted to let you guys hear the part where he said, everybody knows. No, everybody does not know that Charlie Kirk was shot with a 30-06 with a bullet and that the bullet killed him. Everyone does not know that. And yeah, the rest is, not important. The judge doesn't make a ruling. on whether to recuse the prosecution team, and he allows the limited video and still photos for now. All right. We're going to go here, and this has to do, this is in regards to Erica Kirk and her mom and the alibi that she said she had for the day of the assassination. And Candace goes into quite a bit. We'll let it play through, and then I'll give my 2 cents here and there. Okay. Let me make sure it's right where I want it. Yes, it is.
Considering their aims being potentially resurrecting Nimrod, which I totally believe, given this Babylonian magic theme of the occult and their rituals,
Yeah, no, it's, oh, she finishes talking about that like right there.
gives new meaning to this sort of military cult, because that is also a corollary that I have built. It's like constantly the military, so much involvement, even in the Charlie Kirk story, like just everywhere. I said, I don't know when Turning Point just became a literal military operation, but indeed it did. All these people with very strong ties to the military, his wife included, right? Her mother in particular. I want to speak about Erica's alibi on September 10th. And I'm going to put it out there that I do not believe it. I do not believe we are being told the truth regarding her alibi. I have, at least I can say, I guess the best way to say it is, I now officially have some serious questions pertaining to her alibi. And these question marks are really regarding her mother, Lori France Faye. I have been working through Erica's life, and when you start to do that and build a timeline,
Wait, I want to interact with you guys because I see the chat going and it's important. I have a lot to say. You guys are making very good points. So Tyler Robinson's father didn't see his father's gun. The gun that they used, and I can pull it up, the New York Times pulled that gun of the 30-06 off the internet. Okay, watch. I'll pull it up. Let me pull it up. Here it is. Okay, this is not. Let me make it big. Let's see, can I make it bigger? Yeah. Right there. All right, let me see. Let me make sure you guys can see it. Okay, hold on. All right, so this is not Tyler Robinson's grandfather's gun. This is a modern version of what would be Tyler Robinson's style gun. It's a 30-06 rifle. Tyler Robinson's grandfather's gun is a World War II 1900 era original 30-06. This is not wood. Not to mention that this scope's on backwards. Oh, and the other thing that the prosecution tried to claim today as evidence, evidence they collected from the house, was the bullet casings that have engravings on them, which match, and he said this in the plural, which match the bullet casings that they retrieved from the scene. However, this is a bolt action rifle. There's no clip. So there was only one bullet supposedly shot. So there wouldn't have been multiple casings recovered at the scene. There would have been one shell casing left inside the rifle. Okay. And I don't know how they say he would have broken it down without disassembling the bolt and everything else. He would have had to extract the shell casing when he opened it up and taken it apart. But anyway, yeah. So the whole theory of how Tyler Robinson was brought in, it's all a lie. So it wasn't his parents. His parents didn't see the rifle because that's not his grandfather's rifle. That's not their rifle. So that's number one. Number two, they're not the ones that saw the photos of him online. Those still photos of that guy. Watch this. Still photos from September 10th UVU shooter. All right, let's see. This guy. 1 second, guys, and I'll show you in a second. Let me see if I can zoom this in. Okay, this guy right here, that's me, my bad. This guy right here, oh, it's off to the side. Let me pull it up. All right, right there. Can you guys see that? Yeah. So this guy doesn't look like Tyler Robinson at all. Look how grainy the photos are. And in a much better version of these photos that I'd have to spend a lot more time looking through, it shows that his ears are not the same as Tyler Robinson's, and his lip and his nose are not the same. Okay, he's not the same build. His shoulders aren't the same. It's not Tyler Robinson. All right. And so his parents didn't see this photo anyways, and think it was him. It was this police, veteran police guy, retired guy that's an LDS Latter-day Saint elder, known the family. He's the one that supposedly saw the rifle and the photos, and then contacted the parents and talked them into getting a hold of him and getting him to turn himself in. He tried to emotionally manipulate them, like, hey, have you seen what's going on in the news today? Have you seen the photos? Have you seen the photos of the rifle and of the suspected shooter? Yeah, they think it's your son. They think it's Tyler Robinson. You need to help me get him in, because if you don't, they might kill him. They might kill him. And remember, supposedly they said he was suicidal, but then they said that he was afraid the cops were going to kill him. Yeah, probably because his parents were emotionally manipulated into thinking that the best way for him to stay alive was to get him to turn himself in. That's why when initially they claimed that he admitted guilt, that he admitted to doing it, he never did. Because then they turned around and said, oh, he's not cooperating. Okay, so I'm reading through the lines here, but really what I think happened was this police dude is part of the cover-up. He's part of the Patsy whole scenario, framing Tyler. And he's the one that reached out to the parents, because that rifle's not the grandfather's, and those pictures aren't of Tyler. No parent would have seen either of those and said, that's the rifle and that's my son. And he scared them into getting a hold of their son to turn himself in so that he wouldn't be swatted and killed. Okay. And then you guys heard that the DNA evidence on the towel and the screwdriver and the rifle had 5, whether it was the towel by itself or one of the 3 or all 3. Either way, the DNA evidence collected from that day from one of those 3 or all of the 3 had 5 different individuals' DNA in it. So it's not conclusive that it was him. So I don't know what the prosecution is trying to claim here. Yeah. All right. Now let me go back to Candace, because this is pertinent to today and what we're talking about with Erica. All right.
It inevitably leads you to her mother, who I believe is very shady. She has a number of LLCs. And when I say a number, I mean, it's almost incalculable, the amount of LLCs, trying to figure out what exactly this does, the technology, connections from France to Arizona to Cincinnati to Massachusetts. And I realized something about her mother. First and foremost, I told you that when we met, that was the only time that I sensed very strong emotion from her, was in mentioning her mother.
Yeah. So maybe I'll just read your guys' chat for a minute, and then we can get back to the video. Yeah. The same exact thing happened with Lee Harvey Oswald. The rifle from the picture where he's holding the newspaper in front of the apartment, it shows where the clips to the strap are on his rifle. And then the rifle that they're holding up above, when he's inside the police station and saying, this is the rifle that we recovered from the scene, which is his rifle, it was a totally different rifle. It had the connections to the rifle strap on a different part of the rifle. It wasn't the same rifle. And then they tried to, recover that, mistake. Much like this, there's so many similarities between JFK's assassination, Lee Harvey Oswald, the cover-up, all the mistakes, and Charlie Kirk, Tyler James Robinson, and the rifle and the cover-up and the mistakes. They are very, very similar. Call this my 2 cents community. I like that. I guess every generation has to have a magic bullet fairy tale. I know, it's kind of sad. It is pretty disgusting. Yeah. Except the straps should have been somewhere else. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. The ones here, I could even pull up the photos. All right, here. Let me pull up this image for you guys. Where's the one? Let me find the actual picture. Oh, not to mention, there's also doctored versions of that photo out there. And so there's like the original photo and then doctored versions of the photo of him holding the rifle. Here we go. Let me see if I can zoom in. All right. Share this. So this is the rifle that he's holding in this photo. Let me see. Let me center it. All right. And you can see the clips are here, right here underneath. And then the other one is back on the buttstock of the rifle. Okay. Now let me find the one photos inside jail during arrest. Here it is. Oh, let me go back. Hold on one second. Let me make it. Oh my goodness. 1 second, guys. Let me get it up. Let me try to make it big. Where are the photos? There it is. Okay. Oh my goodness. I need to zoom right there. Can you guys see that? Yeah. And so the straps are not in the same spot. It's not the same rifle at all. And so similarly, that black rifle that they tried to show as Tyler Robinson's is not actually Tyler Robinson's grandpappy's rifle at all. Too many weird inconsistencies between JFK and Charlie Kirk. Yeah, the various poisonous arms of the investigation each are different. Venomous snake from the Southwest, rattlesnake, copperhead, coral snake, and comedy club. So we aren't taken seriously, allegedly. Okay. JFK was shot by a banjo, you guys. All right. All right, let's go back to the other video that we're going to break down.
But I do realize now that it seems to me to be an intentional effort to protect Erica's mother throughout this entire thing. Before, like, regarding even September 10th. Leading up to September 10th, Erica did something that it's unusual. It was unusual in terms of the manner in which Erica normally posts. She does not typically post her mother. She is private about her mother. She's always been very private about her mother, actually. If you ask people at Turning Point USA, they don't know her mother, despite the fact that her mother sits on the board of companies related to Turning Point USA, despite the fact that her mother is involved with sort of the geofencing and things of that nature. What is that specific company called? Superfeed Technologies. Despite the fact that her mother was, present next to Erica in 2015 when she was standing behind Trump, they don't know Erica's mother. Superfeed Technologies, Tyler Boyer knows her, but she kind of keeps her in the background. So it was unusual, and I can tell you exactly how unusual. Erica had not.
And what's really interesting is that you guys are going to see a photo of Erica, Kirk's mom, supposedly so sickly, but yet she's still on the board of Superfeed. And Superfeed is a very sketchy company, and that I've done videos on regarding with Jake Hoffman, the show Faith by Works, the FAR filing, the Clock Tower X FAR filing, how they're using AmFest events, the memorial, how they're using TPUSA and this FAR filing to use to collect data on Christians around the country, whether that be at their church or at a college, Christian university. And Superfeed is part of it. And it's so interesting that her mom is on the board of Superfeed and holds a lot of military patents that are going to be used for this data collection and surveillance that's happening right now.
Posted anything about her mom since 2022. Then, despite the last post being in April of 2022 on Mother's Day, she did a post for her mother, I believe it was Mother's Day. Fast forward to 2025, and she moves on September 7th, just 3 days before Charlie dies. She doesn't just post her mother, she posts her mother in an incredibly vulnerable position. Her mother looks to be very sick. And she posts, I wanted to make sure that you were the first. And if you're looking at this, you're glancing at this, it's a countdown of some description. And she says 10 days until September 16th. Now, we don't know what that 10-day countdown was pertaining to because obviously things changed. In fact, September 16th is actually when she hosted her first Zoom call with as the new CEO and chairman. But I'm sure there was some other plan that was there. Again, unusual even for people who are private on Instagram. I mean, even for people who are very public, sharing everything, who overshare on Instagram, you don't want to post someone in such a vulnerable position. Like, that's not how you want to use Instagram. This is not her and Charlie. When it comes to their private life, they're actually exceedingly private. You don't see photos of their children. So this was new. This was different. This was exceptional, I think, is something that we can say. We fast forward just a few days to September 10th, and we learn, one of the people that told us this was the New York Times, that on September 10th, Erica was at the hospital while her...
You guys think that they're going to name Erica Kirk's mom as CEO of Turning Point? I don't think so, but that's funny. I don't think it's AI generated, but I do think that Erica is deliberately trying to make her mom look more sick than she is. Her mom does have Lyme disease. Candace verified that. She knew that from Charlie. But what's really interesting is that it looks like Erica was establishing her alibi for the day of, and even for the 8th of September in the weeks leading up to it, by posting that her mom is sick and blah, blah, blah. And this photo, it's just trying to show that she was with her mom and couldn't have been part of anything. But we'll listen to Candace. And by the way, if you don't know, this is Candace Owens. Please go to her channel, like and subscribe.
Mother was receiving treatments. Now, that hospital word came from the New York Times. It was not a direct quotation from Erica, but they said that she was in the hospital when Mikey McCoy called her, quote unquote, within seconds. We later learned that actually that phone call did not come in within seconds. Actually, Mikey called his wife first. So much for that training that Charlie allegedly gave him. You know, this is what you do immediately. Walk away and call your wife and then call Erica 3 minutes later, 3+ minutes later, and then add Erica to the line while your wife is on the phone. I'm not really buying that, but okay. We know that they had a very brief call, a couple of minutes, and then we are told that she left her mother, who was receiving a medical treatment, and then she collapsed in the parking lot. Now, I got suddenly interested in this narrative for a couple of reasons, all because I then realized her mother was used again in an alibi when I was contacting Justin Strife, trying to figure out what Erica was doing on September 8th, just wanting some sort of an alibi, and it kept getting delayed. And I was told that her mother was very, very sick, and that was the...
And what's interesting is that she's going to claim that she was helping her mom. And remember, the 8th is the day that Mitch Snow said he saw Erica Kirk and Cabot Phillips at the Candle Inn Suites on Fort Huachuca, the night of September 8th. However, you'll hear Candace say that Erica can't really be accounted for at all on the 8th. But supposedly she was back in time to have dinner with Charlie on the 8th. But Charlie was the one that took Erica's mom to her holistic medical appointment for Lyme disease. Yeah, but you wouldn't take your own mom. but she's unaccounted for like a major portion of the 8th.
The reason why, and that she was spending her days in the hospital with her mother. I can confirm that the message that he sent me, certainly the lighting does not look like she is in a hospital. It looks like she's where she is there, which is at her apartment building. And also what I can now confirm to you for a fact is that the mother was receiving treatment not at a hospital, but at a sort of holistic clinic, if you will. And again, this is one of those situations where you go, you wouldn't normally speak about the health of somebody's mother, but you're putting us in the casket with Charlie. We have a right to ask where he's buried. You're going to put us in this very vulnerable position with your mother. I guess it's okay for us to discuss your mother's illnesses, because this was a post, right? I would never, ever, ever, ever post this. I find that to be, again, I also wouldn't post.
Yeah, but she also posts a video, and somebody brought up a good point about the video in the casket. You can hear her exhaling, which means she was mic'd up for it, which is really weird when she's leaning over the casket, the audio, because if the person's holding the camera behind her recording it and you can actually hear Erica exhaling, there's no way that could have happened with the camera. So she had to have been mic'd up for it, which is just so morbid. And then here she is, never really posting anything about her mom, being extremely private about her mom. But here she's going to post a video of her mom in the most personal and compromising, situation. Yeah, because it's her setting herself up for her alibi, or attempted alibi.
Somebody in a casket, but different strokes for different folks. What is interesting to me is I have known for a while, she's not lying about her mother having Lyme disease. That's what her mother has. I know this because I talked to Charlie about this. Charlie, once upon a time, he and I spoke extensively about how he was flying out her mother to do treatments for Lyme disease overseas because there was better treatment in Europe, options available. Bella Hadid posts a lot about this. Her, and I think her brother as well, have Lyme disease, and she goes overseas and she posts about different medical treatments that they have available in Europe. So I was aware that her mother had Lyme disease. That totally passed the test for me. But I think the reason why we were sort of given this kind of nondescript thing and we were led to believe that she was in a hospital was because then you wouldn't ask the next natural question, which is why didn't she?
Yeah, Stacey Sheridan was filming the casket scene. All my point was, and I've covered that in previous videos, all I was saying is that you can hear her exhale into a mic, which couldn't have happened from the phone. So it just means Stacey Sheridan's filming, but that Erica Kirk was mic'd up, which is even worse, in my opinion.
You go with Erica to Utah. Like, you're with your mom when you hit the news. Why not instantly go with your daughter to Utah? So we were led to believe that she was in a condition where she could not do this. I find that to be interesting, especially because I have learned, and I believe this is accurate, that on September 8th, we can pull up the timeline here, that Charlie took Erica's mother for a treatment for Lyme disease at a clinic. I have the address, the name of the clinic. I'm not going to be publishing that because I don't think that that's relevant at this time. But it makes September 8th really interesting because I am told that these treatments, and again, these are holistic treatments that you can go to at a center. There's all sorts of things that you can get done now for Lyme disease and other diseases. I am told that these treatments last between 1 to 2 hours. Okay. 1 on the short end, then up to 2 hours. And yeah, you could, if you wanted, get an intense treatment on the 8th, followed by on the 10th, 2 days later. So I don't need to question that narrative. But I am starting to look at Charlie's schedule, because Charlie came back from Korea and Tokyo, his trip, very late, almost early morning on September 8th, very late on the 7th. We know when he landed into California and then continued on to Arizona. So I'm assuming he slept. And then we know that he's at home when he appears in his home studio for the Charlie Kirk show. He does not go to the office on this day, and we're going to have to fit him into taking Lori to a treatment center. This also makes me think, as I had mentioned the other day, that Erica was not around on the 8th because of
At all.
Turek's statement, where he says Charlie was dealing with the kids. I can't find a single person in this complex that they live that can verify that they saw Erica on this day. And they know her. They verified they saw her on the 9th, right? They didn't see her on the 8th. Okay. Now we have Charlie. Why would Charlie go? Okay. She says they were super close. I would assume that if Erica was available, Erica might have taken her to this treatment, right? This
100%. Like, unless Erica was with Cabot Phillips at Fort Huachuca and elsewhere in the daytime, because the sighting of Erica was at night. But it really doesn't seem right that you're going to post these photos of you with your mom, and your mom's so sick, but you're not going to go with your mom to this long treatment. And then there's no accountability for her that day at all either. Right. And Frank Turek said that Charlie was taking care of the kids that day.
1 to 2 hour treatment. And it puts us in this window of, if we account for driving time, this treatment having to have taken place between 12 and 3:30. And if it's a long treatment, this is the gap that we're putting this in, because otherwise it's not possible. We have everything else put into this timeline, and these things again are verifiable. Again, that Erica says that she made Charlie dinner. That has been the alibi for Fort Huachuca. I have questions about that. I have a lot of questions about that particular timeline and whether or not she was indeed at home making him dinner. It is pointing to the possibility that Erica was just not there on the 8th at all.
At all.
And the way in which her mother was again used to sort of guilt us away from asking questions. When I was asking her for Huachuca, oh, she's with her mom, until she then popped up, which she wouldn't have had this happen. And then I texted and I said, you told me that she's like not available at all because she's with her mom, and her mom's like in a hospital.
Yep.
But she's actually at a basketball game because a fan caught Erica at a basketball game. And then it was like, oh yeah. Was it a football game, Skylar? A football game. And then it was like, oh, okay. You've been asking for this Fort Huachuca thing, blah, blah, blah. And then they gave me something that I didn't ask for. Maybe I wasn't clear, but across weeks, I'm just trying to get a basic alibi for September 8th. And I'm just kind of getting pushed around. And then finally they give me something. And a couple of days later, they send me a cease and desist, and they mention Fort Huachuca.
Yep.
I have questions. I think that we were being emotionally manipulated not to ask questions about her mother, who, if she is extraordinarily sick, and I'm not doubting, and like I said, I know that she has Lyme disease. That's a fact. And I know that there are varying levels and stages of Lyme disease as a fact. I'm not doubting any of that. I am saying that I feel we have been intentionally given that story so that nobody could possibly touch it. Like that post there, to me, feels a little bit manipulative. I can't explain it.
Yeah, it is.
It's not her usual posting. She doesn't post that kind of stuff. It's similar to the Charlie in the casket.
Yep.
Right. And then suddenly like, can I have anything for myself when people ask a question like, hey, actually, where did you bury him?
Can I have one thing? Can me and my kids have one thing to ourselves? Maybe you shouldn't have accepted the CEO position and been a public figure. Maybe you shouldn't have taken a weird and morbid video of your husband in a casket with it open and you touching and rubbing on him and talking and kissing his hands. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't have done all that if you didn't want us asking questions about that or about your mom. Maybe you shouldn't have done it. Dang.
And then suddenly it's like, how dare you intrude upon where Charlie's body is? What will you literally put us in the casket with like your chief fundraiser person to make money? So we're only allowed to ask questions if money is going to be made. I don't think it works like that. It doesn't work like that, actually. So I just wanted to raise that, and I have some more leads that I'm going to prod, but I'm going to put out there that I am having trouble confirming this story.
Yep.
And I'm wondering why that is.
Surprise, surprise. No surprise. All right, that's it for that. Let me make sure. All right, it's just me. Not much else happened today, you guys. Do you guys have any questions or any comments before I sign out? I'm working on some other stuff, but it wasn't ready for tonight. But so I just wanted to cover the Tyler Robinson in court case hearing, and then the Erica Kirk inconsistencies and BS alibi. She's she's in the Amber, Megan, Jada, Blake club. Yeah, she is. The hands thing is so strange because we know what his hands really looked like. It's like she had to purposely show the hands were normal. I don't know if you guys think about the electrocution theory, and if you've seen what his Barron did a great breakdown of what his hands looked like right after, and they were burned and like singed. And if that is Charlie's body and he did get electrocuted, it would make sense why there was so much makeup all over his hands and made them look like that. But I mean, at this point, it's like, I have so many questions. I'm also going to do a video on, and I'll just kind of set it up for you guys. Charlie Kirk was being investigated during the Biden administration. Him and TPUSA was being seriously investigated. It was called like Arctic Fox or something like that. I forget the name of it. And he was looking at federal prison time. Like, no joke, especially if everything that's coming out, which it definitely seems like it is, about their finances and political contributions, like all the different things, their 990s, their IRS filings, Superfeed, Turning Point Action, Tyler Boyer. He had legitimate reason to be afraid that he was going to go to prison. That it's, some people claim that he's not dead. I think he is, but I do think it's interesting that if it were, and you see him cry on the night when they announced that Trump was president, because it wasn't just that he helped Trump to become president to help the country, and because he wanted Trump president. Yeah, that was a huge point, a huge factor. But he also really, really needed Trump to be president so he didn't go to prison. And it's interesting that with him gone, I mean, and Erica as CEO, they can't blame her for any past wrongdoings. Like, it was his name on everything. And so, I don't know. I guess there could be an argument made that there's motive for him and others to fake his death so that he's no longer, because like in 2028, when the next president comes in, if it is a Democrat, they probably are going to finish that investigation and prosecution of TPUSA. And if Charlie were around, it would have been him. And I think he knew that it would have been him, whether he had 4 years and a hiatus from being investigated. It only was a matter of time until the next Democratic president got in office and continued the investigation and maybe prosecuted him and put him in prison. Like I said, I don't think he's still alive, but it is interesting to see that he was seriously afraid to go to jail and they were seriously investigating him. And in all likelihood, if Kamala and what's his name, Waltz, would have been elected, he might have been in prison. And so I don't know. We'll see. As more comes out, we'll figure out what's going on. I'll continue to bring more to you guys. Let's see what you guys said. Why did Trump give the TPUSA guys a presidential pardon? What do you mean? Oh, Tyler Boyer. You mean Tyler Boyer? It wasn't for TPUSA. It was because Tyler Boyer signed that the 2020 election was a fraud and that Trump had actually won the election. And so That's what he was being prosecuted for. However, the pardon is a federal pardon, but he's being investigated. Yeah, Tyler Boyer's being investigated in the state of Arizona, and a federal pardon doesn't protect you from state investigations. So I don't know. It looks like it was kind of just in for show, but yeah. Yeah, the fake electors. Yeah, there you go. That's what he was being investigated for. But a federal pardon won't protect him from the state's investigation. But that could also be why TPUSA helped that one lady that was in office in Arizona, got her out and got their person in. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with all that. Almost seemed like he was disappointed that Trump won. I don't know. I don't think he was disappointed. I think he was relieved. But why was he relieved? Or what was he most relieved for? I think is the question. Charlie knew that Erica was involved in, and he was married to that. Puts him right in it. I mean, it's hard to know at this point how much he knew and how much he was a part of it. It might turn out that he knew everything and was a part of a lot of the financial stuff, or that he was the face of the organization. He was the talent. He was on the road a lot. He was doing so much. He was doing shows, guest speaking, debating, Amfest, Prove Me Wrong. All these people came in 2018. All these corrupt individuals came in with Erica. All the money came in. And it's possible TPUSA got too big too fast for him to keep tabs on everything. And he delegated a lot. And when that delegation happened, people started running rogue, and he didn't know. It is possible that he didn't know. And I mean, if we take into account that he didn't know a lot about Erica, it seems, or a lot about Tyler Boyer, Mikey McCoy, Blake Neff, Andrew Colvett, it's possible he was ignorant to a lot of things, or was maybe just so focused and busy on the things he was doing that he couldn't. And he was on the road 300 days of the year. He wasn't at the headquarter building. He wasn't in Arizona a lot. You know, I hope we find out more as time goes on. So we'll see. Yeah, look, guys, his yellow hands aren't burnt, right? Arctic frost. Yeah. Yep. I said Arctic fox. I'm tired, man. Thanks for making these videos. You're great at rehashing all the info. Thank you. True Blue, Natalie. Looks like we have a much smaller group tonight. We're at about 28. At peak was 30. Yeah. Tomorrow and the rest of the week, I'll have back to my normal engaging stuff. Today was a busy day at work, and not a lot happened in the news. You know, did anyone see Baron Coleman's video yesterday about the priest interview that Candace was referencing about that wealthy individual that was targeted by Stacey Sheridan and Erica? Did you guys see that video of the audio recording of the priest? Oh, that Erica has been running the TPUSA for a while now, maybe. Yes, Candace and Baron yesterday were A++++. Yes, but did everyone see it? No. All right, hold on. Let me pull up, not the whole video. Don't worry, everyone. Just give me a second. Let me pull something up real quick, because there's just some pretty key points from yesterday. Hold on, let me get to it. Wait, is this from yesterday? Hold on, let me back up. Give me 1 second. Live, 7 hours ago, 1 day ago. Tyler Robbins defense demanding secret trial. Yeah, this is it, but I gotta find the part about the priest. Where is it? Let me find it, guys. Just give me a second. Where's the part where he plays the audio? Or was that 2 days ago? Where is it? Oh, here we go. I found it. Okay, hold on. I had to pull it up. Let me add it to the show, the screen. Just give me 1 second. I'm getting it all set up and then I'm going to put it on. Oh. All right. I'm going to hit play.
It's my understanding this recording was made with his permission. I could be wrong, but it's floating around out there, so we're going to listen to it. But I want you to listen to how he explains certain things. First thing he will talk about is whether or not he was aware Charlie Kirk was converting. Again, I would think this guy would know. But I want you to hear from him how he describes what he knows. And let's see if we can read between the lines a little bit.
This whole thing with, Charlie Kirk getting murdered has been just so tragic. But I guess he was converting to Catholicism at the end. Is that right? I don't know.
If you didn't hear him, he said, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's a weird answer.
It
and
is.
here's the thing, too.
Let me.
I'm not here to
ask
say
the part.
Charlie should or shouldn't.
All the various different memorial service or anything?
Yeah. I'm going to try to respect his privacy. So why is this important to you?
Well, so, I mean, there's a lot of reasons because people are saying like, oh, he was, evangelical, and they were talking about, I don't know, all the various different aspects of it. But I don't know. So
Let me ask you, because this is a point of contention that
Yeah.
I believe has been resolved. And I think the priest just sort of hinted at it if we read between the lines. I do believe Charlie had a Catholic funeral, or at least a Catholic service that accompanied his funeral.
Hold on. Let me get to
The story.
Yeah, I'm always the last to know. Isn't that something?
yeah. So
Yeah.
I see there's no truth to that at all.
No, there's no truth to that.
Again, I'm always the last to know. If I'm a priest and somebody says, "Hey, I heard you're out there shilling for a charity, and it's all about the money," is there any truth?
Yeah. So the gist of the video is this interviewer asks him everything regarding his involvement and relationship with Charlie, and then all the allegations that are going on about whether he was converting to Catholicism. He doesn't know. Whether he was shilling for Erica and Stacey Sheridan. I'm the last to know. He doesn't answer anything. He's much like Erica and allergic to answering questions directly. And then when asked whether he had past improprieties with people or children underage inappropriately, he doesn't answer straight out and say no. He goes, would I still be in my position if I had? Me being here is proof that I did nothing, because the church doesn't take kindly to that anymore, and they're very serious and they investigate, and I would be pulled out right away. But doesn't just straight out say, no, I've never done that. No, I wasn't shilling for Stacey and Erica, and didn't answer. Yeah, he was very serious about converting to Catholicism. So much like Erica, this pastor is suspicious and can't answer questions directly. And anytime someone can't answer questions directly, yeah, you're suspicious. You should be able to answer definitively yes or no at all of these questions. So, all righty. It is now 10:27 my time. You guys have any last words before I sign off? Is that the same priest from Candace's story? Yes, it is. Yeah. Where they targeted the woman, Stacey Erica, in the church after the memorial. Yep. Candace episode 299. Yes. That is the same pastor, the priest. Yep. And that was the question that reporter just asked him if there's any truth to that claim. And he goes, "Oh, I'm always the last to know," but doesn't just say, no, I didn't do that. But clearly, I mean, in my opinion, I think he did. So it is what it is. All right. Any last comments, questions? Does anyone have, I saw a couple earlier. Do you guys have any suggestions on what the community should be named? Like people that are consistent and are part of our community? Because then I can, well, I would just say throw it in the chat and, or next video, I'll do a poll on it and we can figure it out for sure. All right. I'm going to be signing off, you guys. Thank you guys so much for showing up tonight. Have a great night.